Okay, so I'm live again. It is 12:48 in the morning. It is now Sunday morning, 8/4/2024. And earlier I came on to the tropics news. And now we're going to go over some of the cases of the week. Hey, Miranda, how are you? Good to see you. I hope you're well. I keep going into some of these other chat creators and seeing you and saying, you're probably sick and tired of me saying, I hope I hope you're better. I hope, you're okay. But Miranda's here. All right, what was I saying? So tonight I'm going to try to go over the Delphi crap and some of the other news and cases that are going on. I got some statistics and stuff like that to go over. So let's get this party started. Let me, again, I'm on my backup computer again this week. I haven't gotten the parts yet. Hey, Gail Hurd, good to see you. So I might put something in the ticker so I don't have to keep saying that my computer sucks. So we're going to go with it. Let me play my intro and I'll be right back. Let's try to play the intro. And I was talking about the computer. Yep. All right. Be right back. Good to see everybody. Okay, so that went okay. Yeah, I know you're probably never going to get tired of it, Miranda. Very lonely. It sucks. I feel so bad. It's awful. But we're thinking about you anyways here. I also want to send a shout out to Southern Gal. I know she's been dealing with some stuff too. I don't like to talk about people when they're not here, but I hope she's okay. We miss you, Southern Gal, but take your time. Probably a lot more important things in life than some of this stuff. But anyways, just a quick reminder. This computer sucks, so there's nothing I can do about it. I haven't gotten the parts for the other one, so we're gonna go for it tonight here. But I do want to go over some of the Delphi stuff this week because it's been a big week for Delphi. But it is what it is with Delphi. First thing I want to say is regarding Delphi. I don't have a problem with other people's opinions. I never have. I know there's a lot of pushing and shoving, and especially in this case here. But I just don't have a problem with other people's opinions. I have my own opinion, which really doesn't mean much. But I've been covering Delphi since it started. I mean, I forget where I heard about it. I think it was Good Morning America. I think it was Good Morning America. It was a national thing, and then I thought for sure they'd solve that case in a month, 2 months, honestly. But then I didn't start following it until I think it was the first year press conference they had on the trail. I remember Doug Carter being there. They actually went to the trail and had what they call the 1 year anniversary, and I'm shocked that the case hadn't been solved yet. I really was. Like, what the hell's going on? So, and you know, I always pick out that interview, that press conference, because it seemed like they were so. I mean, I've played that over and over again. I think I've done, I don't know, 80 lives on Delphi, but that press conference kind of um, always stick with me, because it seemed like they were just so depressed that they hadn't solved it yet. Doug Carter was almost like pissed. He was like pissed off. They had, you know, basically all the evidence. They just didn't have the who. I mean, and they knew it was somebody local. They kept saying it over and over and over and over again, but nobody was coming forward. So, anyways, what was I saying? All right, so let's play a couple of things. Hey, Steve, what's going on, buddy? I still have that question I want to ask you. But the first thing I'll say is, you know, I follow a lot of court cases. I think that's all I ever do. Hey, Dean, how's it going? It seems like all I ever do is follow court cases, especially before I got my channel here. And one thing I'm going to say about juries, juries don't like confessions, right? Like, confessions are very, very, I mean, they're probably, other than DNA these days, confessions are pretty detrimental to the defense. And, you know, but we'll get into that anyways. So, because I got some stats to back that up, I think. So let me see if I can play a feed here. Let's go here to this here. I had it all set up. We'll do this one first. Hold on a second. Give me a second here. I just had it. And the other guy, I'll go over the Chad Duerman case too, because that's also been in the news. Touch anything? Okay, I'm not touching anything. All right, so I'll play this one here. I want to play this one here. I think this was done 6 hours ago. Couldn't have been. Oops. I keep doing it. All right, let's just share this. Let's just share this. So I think this was done 6 hours ago. This is about the, this is Court TV again. All right, so let's play this here. I'll back this up a little bit. All right, here we go.
Maximum security prison. So we're going to take a look at what's behind that ruling and everything else that came out of that.
I mean, I've been pretty solid on this case. Like I said, when I first, I mean, in my opinion, this case has always had the bookmarks of a lone wolf guy. Pretty local. I figured he probably lived within 5 miles of the crime scene. And, you know, I never bought into the multiple suspect thing. I just, you know, it's people, these things happen all the time, unfortunately. I mean, people are nuts. And this guy's definitely one of them. But let's go. Let's play this here.
3-day hearing that our cameras weren't allowed in. More now from Scripps Indianapolis reporter Caitlin Kendall.
The Carroll County Sheriff won't tell us where Richard Allen is being housed, but he's now in the sheriff's custody instead of Wabash Valley Correctional Facility. This comes after Judge Fran Gold granted his attorney's motion to vacate the safekeeping order in full. This means that Allen does not have to stay in solitary confinement, though the sheriff did say it will now depend on Allen's behavior moving forward. When that motion...
I will say one thing, he looks a lot better. Considering what he did look like before, at least now it looks like he's eating something. He looks a lot healthier for sure.
Came down, Allen was seen smiling and being embraced by his attorneys. This came after nearly 12 hours of testimony, a very long day in court where we heard from 9 total witnesses in regard to the state's motion of limine, which essentially means the state wants the court to limit what the defense can say to the jury. We heard from a blood splatter expert who described in detail how the blood found was at the crime scene. These details made family of both Abby Williams and Libby German visually upset. Aside from the safekeeping order, all other motions that have been heard over these past 3 days are being taken under advisement by the judge, and she will issue a decision as soon as she is able. Richard Allen's jury trial is set for October. In Delphi, Caitlin Kendall, WRTV.
All right, now let's talk more about what came out of that hearing that our cameras were not allowed into. I want to welcome in Court TV senior producer of our documentary unit, Barbara McDonald, somebody who's followed the Delphi case since its inception. You are without a doubt our resident expert. So let's begin here. What was the juiciest thing? I mean, I know a lot came out of this, but the juiciest thing we learned over these last 3 days?
I think there's a lot of attention on the confessions. We learned more about these confessions. Initially, we'd been told that there were several admissions made to his family. Now we find out there are more than 60 that were made during a 2-month period of time, that he made these admissions to multiple people, to guards, to other...
I'm going to be the first one to probably tell you this, but how long has this case been going? 6 years. It was going to 5.5 years before they actually arrested a suspect, but I can almost guarantee you that there were hundreds of confessions over the phone, people coming in claiming they did it. People confess all the time. They inject themselves into a crime scene, crime investigation. And some people are looking for, 5 minutes of fame. Some people are just, psychotic. So I wouldn't be surprised if there were hundreds of confessions. And unfortunately, people have to vet these things. Law enforcement has to vet these things. And I wouldn't be surprised if there were a lot of confessions. I know a lot of people, especially early on, that were trying to say, "Oh my God, that's my father." That I guarantee you that's my dad. That's my dad up there. And like I said, law enforcement has to track these things down. And but as far as the confessions, I'm pretty sure there were a lot of them.
There are inmates who were guarding him on suicide watch, as well as to his family, and that some of those confessions, at least, contained information only the killer would know, according to the state. And he made these confessions not only verbally to these people, but also in writing.
I'm telling you, this statement by Miranda's accurate. That wasn't the greatest word to use there. And I can't stress enough how, these kids just did not deserve any of this. Some of the, disrespect is just, it's just crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. These poor kids just enjoying the time of their life, 13, 14. Hey, Heather Brown, how are you? Good to see you again. And I keep saying, all the time, I don't care who did this. I'm pretty sure it's Richard Allen. I think I'm probably at 80%, maybe a little bit higher than that now with confessions and stuff like that. Because like I said, regardless of whether juries just don't listen to reasons why people give confessions. They're just confessions are confessions. But what was I saying? I think he's pretty guilty, but whoever did this, if it's him, there is no such thing as a good enough punishment for this guy or whoever did it. This is just a brutal crime. Some of the stuff that came out this week, it just brutal. I mean, you can't say it another way. These people went through hell, and if it's this guy, I hope he gets nothing but bad things. That's just my opinion.
And we haven't seen exactly what he said. We haven't seen or heard his words, and we look forward to that at trial if this information's allowed in. But also keep in mind that these confessions came during a 2-month window when he was in maximum security prison at the Wabash Correctional Facility, allegedly the harshest conditions that he faced.
If, I don't want to brag about this, but, I spent a little time early on in my life in a jail/prison for a couple of DWI convictions, disobeying a police officer, stuff like that. But until you actually get into a prison and understand how prison systems work and jail systems work, there's a lot goes on, and you hear it all the time. I'm innocent. I didn't do this. It's like, and people, there's people who go to jail and prison that just can't handle it. They just, it's such a different environment from being out here doing whatever you want to do, kind of, and then going into an environment where all of that stuff gets taken away from you. Everybody will react a little differently. I've always said there's 2 people that go to jail, and only one person gets out, because the one person will always keep offending, reoffending, doing it again, because for some reason in their mind they just like that environment. They'd rather be in there than outside. So, but I've seen things, that you're not going to see out here. You're just not going to see that stuff. People, big, grown, strong guys, just can't handle it. They just, and everybody finds God. It's not unusual for people to find God. You get out of jail. I mean, you get out of your cell, you go to these rooms where they have these, so everybody's innocent in prison and everybody finds God. It's just the way it goes. It's just, there's nothing you can do about it. Anyways, let me stop rambling here. Everybody finds God. It's just the way it goes. You get free time out.
During his incarceration there, and he was behaving bizarrely. He was eating his own waste.
Right.
He was smearing it on
Eating
himself.
his jail papers too.
Yes,
right?
and he was
Oh, my
running
gosh.
from one end of his cell to the other to bang his head into the wall. And he was being medicated involuntarily.
I used to bring food to a cell because I was at one point I was a trustee, and I used to bring food to the when I was there, they were redoing the jail here in Manchester, New Hampshire, and they had sent everybody to Hillsborough County, including the Valley Street prison guys. So it was kind of a prison/jail at the time. So we would bring food to the as trustees to the inmates, and there was one guy had his cell literally like Rome. He somehow painted his cell like Rome. It had everything you would see on a cobblestone road in Rome. And I asked him, I'm like, the guy was an artist. I mean, it took him forever to do it, but they don't give you paint brushes, paint in prison. He just did it with whatever he had. And I mean, I'm like, what are you doing here? You could be an artist like Picasso or something. I mean, this cell looked like you were stepping into Rome. It had the arches and everything, the marble, everything. The guy was pretty talented, but he just couldn't handle the outside. He just kept coming back. It's just it's sad, but prison's prison, man.
Voluntarily for psychosis at the exact same time, and that some of these confessions contained information that wasn't true. Like in one of them, allegedly, he said that he molested
I won a lot of money in jail. I won. I walked in with maybe like $20 after court, and I walked out with like, I don't know, $500. Of course, when I was there, cigarettes were gold. Like if you had cigarettes, you pretty much ruled the prison, because money and all of that stuff is really no good in prison. Unless, I mean, back in my day, the cigarettes were the best thing. If you had cigarettes, you could get anything you wanted. But we used to play the 3-card guts. You have what you have in your hand, and they all thought I was pretty gullible, but I ended up taking all their money. I literally walked out with $500.
Did both girls and then shot them. They were not molested and they were not shot, according to the investigation and the autopsy reports and all of that. So the defense doesn't want all of these in.
Sure.
Even the prosecution wants to limit some of these. So we don't know how much of this information is actually going to make it in front of the jury. Something else that came out during this is that the psychologist who was treating him at that facility during this 2-month window, when
All right, I want to stop this for a second. I'll go back to this, but I do want to pull this up because hold on a second here. See if that works. Yes, it does. Okay, she probably can't see this, but I'll kind of read it. So this is all about distinguishing true or false confessions. And basically what this is saying is it's basically exploring the myth that juries can determine the authenticity of a confession presented as evidence during a trial. It explains why most confessions are likely to be believed by jurors. So it's confessions, in my opinion, in this case, is almost like DNA. It's like that's probably what's going to happen if they get allowed in. Because most people, who was I watching the other night? I think it was Bob Motta on the Defense Diaries. And, majority of people will say, about confessions is, oh, I'd never, ever confess to something I didn't do, right? That's mostly the way people think. And jurors are not, exempt to that. They hear a confession and it's gold. This guy has somewhat 60 confessions, right? 60 so-called confessions. Now, I'm not here to judge whether they're true or false. I'm just saying the jury's going to hear confession. That's all they're going to hear, in my opinion. They're not going to hear, well, they were coerced, they were... that's what jurors usually hear. They're not going to really. But I mean, myself personally, I'd like to see the sustenance to these confessions. But I'm telling you, 9 times out of 10, when the jury hears confessions, they're more likely to vote against the defendant. It's just the way it is. All right, so let me. Stop this here. I just wanted to show people that. All right, let's go back to the.
he's being psychotic and making these admissions, joined some of the Facebook.
And I've said this before, and I'm probably going to get shit on here. But I think the defense is doing a terrible job. I just do. I mean, they're just, and I'm not saying both guys, because I think in the defense team, I think one person really strongly kind of wants to go with this Odinist thing. But I think the other guy, and I'm pretty sure that's Rosie, I don't know if he's all in on that. But, and this again is where I probably agree with Bob Motta a little bit. If it was me, I'd probably be attacking some of the timeline. That's just my opinion. I mean, they're not going to, the whole thing about it's just not going to fly. It's just not. And if it doesn't get in, if she doesn't allow it in, then you're going to have to attack something.
Groups online at the time and was perhaps participating in discussions about him and his mental health. And so there's a lot there with these confessions that we don't know yet how many of these will make it into the trial, and whether or not this psychologist who was treating him could be impeached with some of this other information that's coming out about her.
Oh my gosh, Barbara, that is incredibly unprofessional, as you know. It's stunning, actually. It's really stunning.
It's a violation of HIPAA and a whole bunch of other things. And then not to mention, this has already been a case that has been so difficult to prosecute. It took almost 6 years for us to even make this arrest. And then to perhaps in some way...
Hey, Jocelyn, good to see you. Jocelyn's here. See, I'm at the point now where, you know, the investigation, you know, all of that stuff, the pre-trial stuff, where I'm focused now is on the jury, you know, because we can talk about this case till we're blue in the face, about some of the evidence they have, some of the evidence they don't have. At the end of the day, it comes down to 12 people, and I'm not going to be on there. So, but I do know from watching so many cases and, you know, going over so many different types of, you know, in this day and age, you kind of got to have some forensic stuff, but confessions are pretty close. Confessions are pretty close. And I'm going to play a story that I've been covering for about 3 years or so down there in Hawaii. After the Delphi stuff here, about a couple of guys that literally confessed to doing the crime. And a couple of weeks ago, they basically just vindicated them, saying they had nothing to do with it because they actually took some DNA and sent it in, and they weren't even at the crime scene. So this is the guy you want to talk to, Steve. I obtained several hundred confessions. Yeah, 1 in 100 went to trial. Heather, you're awesome. You know, you 60 confessions. You're probably going to get 10. If she, in my opinion, she's probably going to go half and half. She's going to go half on the confession thing and half on the third party thing. But I agree with this here too. This could all be. I definitely think this is going to an appeal. No doubt in my mind. This whole case is going to an appeal, and I also think the trial is going to get pushed up a little bit too, pushed back or delayed a little bit too. Now that he's been moved, because they can come up with some you know, excuse that they haven't had enough time with him, all of that stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if the trial got put off a little bit. But it could be headed for a plea. I mean, that's definitely possible, but we'll see. All right, so let's go back to this.
Cause a problem by behaving that way.
This is terrible. I know there were several other things, but let's hit the biggies. In terms of other big things that came out of it, I understand the prosecution has wanted certain words kept out of the trial. Where are we with that?
The judge has not ruled on that yet, but like odinism, the names of the men that the defense has identified in filings as being these potential odinist suspects, their names they don't want mentioned. Kegan Kline, who was the guy behind the catfish account that they were looking at before they arrested Richard Allen, and Ron Logan, who was one of the first people they looked at because he was the property owner where the bodies were found, and he lied about where he was and got other people to lie on his behalf about all of that. And so they don't want any of this to come in. And what they're saying to the defense is, if you can prove that it was somebody else, then come to this hearing and prove that. And if you can't prove that, you shouldn't be able to talk about them at the trial. So we don't know what the judge is going to decide on any of that.
Right. So basically, there's no concession from the state that oh, we think we got the wrong guy, right? They are adamant.
No,
they
they're
got the right
saying,
guy.
and even though when he was arrested, they said there could be other people arrested for this
Right.
crime. Now, apparently in this hearing, they said, no, it's one person. It's him, and we're putting all our cards on the table for him. It's not anybody else. They say that these other odinists, that they were able to not prove that they could have been in Delphi during the critical time period. We know that Richard Ellen admitted to law enforcement that he was on the trails that day around the time the girls were there. So that's a problem. There was also some new information that came out that apparently in one of his confessions, he said that he used a box cutter to commit the crimes. They were killed with a knife of some sort. And he said it was his CVS issued box cutter, which apparently CVS issues these sort of disposable box cutters to people, and that's what he used. We don't have any information that says that was the murder weapon. We don't have any information that they found the box cutter and were able to tie that to him. So perhaps that will come.
See, that's the other thing I want to know is the DP even on the table? Because I know it was introduced earlier, but I don't know if what was I was just going to say something. Yeah, I don't trust a lot of reporters either. That's why I don't, it's like especially her.
Come out at trial. But another big thing that came out was talking about the sort of ritualistic nature of this crime scene, right? There was a woman who came, that's what he used. We don't have any information that says that.
I mean, this is all that really matters right here. This poor kid and this, just absolutely horrible. That's what it's always been about. But they get lost in all of this, it's going to get lost in a trial too. Because nobody really, mentions them. Very little, if at all. It's all about this piece of crap now.
That was the murder weapon. We don't have any information that they found the box cutter and were able to tie that to him. So perhaps that will come out at trial. But another big thing that came out was talking about the sort of ritualistic nature of this crime scene, right? There was a woman who came in and testified that, yes, this fit all the criteria for a ritualistic crime scene. But one of the detectives who went out to investigate the blood at the scene, and specifically the blood that was on the tree, the defense has alleged that that was a Nordic rune, a letter F, that fits in with this whole Odinism theory and this ritualistic killing.
See, I remember Robert Ives back in the beginning because, this non-secular stuff is no news to me. I've known about this since he gave that interview. Robert Ives himself basically said that there were 3 non-secular signatures out there. Now, I don't know if he saw the crime scene or if he was there or he was just getting information from investigators, but he said that. So, when they came out with this Odinist thing, I wasn't shocked at all. He literally said that. He said the scene was odd. It's like something you would want to take a picture of, and then that kind of got reaffirmed by the Ron Logan warrant. So, I just think people thought, because there were so many rumors. Just think about all of the rumors in this case. It's just, thousands and thousands of rumors every single month. But I think when Robert Ives said that, I think people just assumed that they were Christian non-secular and not something else. But they must have thought something because that's what a prosecutor does. They bring out, they bring stuff to the prosecutor, and if he thinks he's got enough to go to trial, it's. So they definitely thought something was out there going on, but I can't find that interview anymore. I can't find. I don't know if they took it down or whatever, but it's not there anymore. I can't find it.
This detective testified that he was able to, using his own blood that he had one of the lab people draw, that he was able to take a person who was 5'4", the same height as Libby German, and put the blood on her hand and put that up against the tree.
No, I haven't got my computer fixed, buddy. Sorry. It's still sitting right here. I ordered some parts, and they're taking forever to get here. They got to get on a boat from China all the way over here, and I'm probably just going to go out this week and get a computer. This is ridiculous. Yeah, see, this is, I have questions myself. Like I just because I think, again, here we go with the soapbox thing. My take. I think Betsy Blair, honestly, could have been a victim in this whole thing. But my opinion, when she got to the bridge and she saw somebody standing there, she was literally freaked out that somebody was standing there. And she basically did whatever she had to do to hightail it to get out of there. Because I think, she felt like something was up. That would have spooked me. Somebody just standing there on the bridge. And, 5'4" is really short. It's something that probably would have stuck out. It would be like going there and seeing somebody 7 feet tall. That's one of those things you probably, and she might have said that. I don't know, but I definitely want to see what she said, because I know for a fact that she doubled down on what she said she saw. That's why they had that 2019 press conference. She went back to them and said, "You guys are showing the wrong portrait. It's not the guy that I saw." So, I don't know. The height to me is, that's a little strange, but the distance, I don't know if the sun was in her face. I don't know, but she seemed to pick out some pretty good facial features and hair. I don't know. It's just, that to me, that's weird. 5'3" and 5'4" for a girl or a woman. That's, I don't know. That's probably average. I know guys' height average is about 5'6", 5'7", 5'8", somewhere around there. But 5'4" is really short. 5'4", and I hate to say this, but when I first started in this case, especially when they showed the guy on the bridge there, I'm like, that's Mike Patty. Mike Patty's short too. Mike Patty can't be any taller than 5'5". And I always said that the guy on the bridge was no taller than 5'9". It's just the way his pants are, there's no way he could be taller than 5'9". But 5'4" is pretty short. So maybe she did. Maybe she did say that. I don't know. But I need to see that.
Almost leaning, like to prevent yourself from falling, perhaps. And that's what, in his estimation, is the source of that.
Chills. I have chills.
I was also caught up in the timeline early on in this case too, because it didn't make any sense. Because, the first report that I heard about, was that they were dropped off somewhere around 1:30. I think there was some people that say they were dropped off around 1:25, somewhere around there. So, Libby took her first image of the bridge right around 2:00, right? So there's a good 20 minutes at least there. What were they doing for 20 minutes? So maybe they were waiting for somebody. But when they came out with the PCA and they said 1:49, that made much more sense, because they get there at 1:49, they get out of the car, they say their goodbyes, they, depending on how fast they walk, they get to the bridgehead about 2:00. All three of those people were at the same place at the same time. So, all right, let's go back to this.
Yeah, apparently it was a very difficult day for the families to be sitting there and listening to some of this testimony. Most of the hearings, we have not gotten this graphic with the information. It's a precursor to the trial, though. It's going to be a very, very difficult process for them. It also was a very long day. This was 3 days of hearings. Yesterday, they didn't end it.
Wait till the trial. Oh, you think this is bad? Wait till the trial. If we ever get a trial.
until 8:30 last night.
Oh,
They started at
my.
9 in the morning. So it was a very, very
Wow.
long, very, very difficult day listening to some very disturbing testimony and trying to figure out, you know, where we are on this case. But
Right.
the judge, the only motion that she ruled on so far out of this 3-day hearing was this motion to vacate his safekeeping. He is now out of that maximum security prison, won't be going back through the duration of it.
Well, I had to vet everybody early on. Mike Patty did say something at that interview that, that I literally had to go back and watch that like 10 or 15 times. When he did his interview with the families at that press conference, and I played it several times on some of my earlier lives. That when he said they stuck together, I'm like, because that was the first time I had heard that, and because I know I didn't hear that from law enforcement. So this was a long time ago. This was like 4 years ago. And I'm like, how the hell did he know that? When he said that at that press conference, it kind of, but then I quickly ruled him out because he left much earlier than they did. So he would have had to know they were going to the bridge, and he didn't. So there you go.
This, obviously, if he's convicted, he'll go back to a facility
Right.
like that. But for now, he's going to be held in a county jail. That'll give his family better access to him. That'll give his lawyers better access to them. And that's something they've been fighting for, saying it interferes with their ability to defend him.
Because law enforcement will do that. They'll let people stick their foot in their mouth by doing these press conferences. But, like I said, I kind of had to rule him out because he left earlier than they did. And he would have had to know somehow that they were going to the bridge. And I don't think he did that. Yes. No. I mean, yeah, no, I ruled him out a long time ago. I'm just saying that there's been Daniel Nations was another one. Daniel Nations, I thought for sure he was a good candidate for this, but they ruled him out. I actually think they ruled Daniel Nations out in that first press conference on the trail, or shortly before that. But he had all the signs to me.
Because they can't see him
Sure.
while he's in this maximum security prison as often and as freely as they would like.
Sure. Okay, so the defense got a big victory there.
Yes.
They had claimed that he was harassed and being,
And apparently when the judge made that ruling in court, Richard Allen smiled. He was embraced by his attorney.
Okay.
So it definitely was something that he's wanted.
Yeah, boy, oh boy. And I know we want the cameras in there. Barbara, last question quickly, please. Do you know if the families of Abby and Libby want this to be televised?
I don't know how they feel about that at the moment. They are under a gag order. They're not talking about the
right.
case. I know that they also are looking forward to the trial to see all of the information.
Right.
Many of them are very convinced that the right person is behind bars at the moment, but they still want to see how that plays
The prosecution's not going to say they got the wrong person behind the bars. That's for sure.
out in court and listen to the testimony, as
Right.
difficult as that's going to be for them.
Right. And at this point, we don't know for sure, but all signs point to this judge saying no cameras. Huh?
She seems pretty adamant that she is not going to change her mind on that. And she
See, I'm kind of okay with the no camera thing because this case, I mean, this whole thing's been, last thing they need now is cameras in the courtroom. But I do think they need to be a little bit more transparent about what happens in the courtroom. Just my opinion. Hey, Snarky Ass Angel, Sass Angel, how are you? All right, so I want to switch to this here. Stop screen. I want to go to this one here. Nope, this one.
Out of a state prison. That decision from the judge today, ending 3 long days of arguments about issues critical to that trial. So Allen is accused of killing 14-year-old Libby German and 13-year-old Abby Williams back in 2017. Their families were in court for every moment during the last few days. Our Emily Longnecker was in court as
Yeah, and I 100% agree with that. I've known years ago, I used to be an electrician, and we used to have a guy by the name of Tiny. He was he was barely 5'4". But if you ever shook the guy's hand, he'd rip your freaking hand off. Size means nothing. Size. They have images of this guy, Richard Allen, climbing rock mountains. I mean, he's obviously pretty fit. So yeah, height, weight, strength. Not a. That's a good point, but Steve. Yeah, I've, like I said, I've been pretty adamant. I've been on a lone wolf thing here since 2018, no doubt in my mind. Yeah, I mean, this. I think it's more 80-20 where there should be cameras in the courtroom, and I kind of agree with that because you want to be transparent. But in this case here, all right, so let's go back to this.
Whoop. As well, where the hearings wrapped up late this evening, 12 hours of testimony from 11 witnesses. Emily?
Well, today we heard a lot of details about the crime scene, much of it very graphic. The defense presented witnesses to try and prove that the girls were victims of a pagan.
I mean, how the hell do you screw up the Orion system? It's just, some of the mistakes in this case, man. I got that up too. There's absolutely no excuse for it, in my opinion. And I know, I'm going to sound like I'm picking on law enforcement here, but these guys, this case had way more than some other cases when it comes to attention. They had, I think it was 25 different law enforcement agencies working on this case at one time, and they had a CO officer go out and interview witnesses. I mean, I don't understand that. I know it's possible, I guess. I mean, if you're short on manpower and you're going to try to get to these people as soon as you can, but these guys had the FBI there, they had the Indiana State Police there, they had Carroll County, which was the lead, they had Delphi, they had other agencies from other counties come in and help out. I mean, they had everybody. Not every case gets this type of help, there's cases like that, like Flora out there, where they just basically walked in the house and said nothing to see here and then left, and then you've never heard anything from them again. So, for them to screw up this much here in this case is just, and now they don't, from what I heard, they don't have a time of death. I mean, what the hell is going on here? That's just, but anyways, I digress. But, honestly, 6 years is, 5.5 years. It seems long to a lot of people, but there's some cases out there that have gone 10, 12, 15, 16, 20 years without being solved. So, and I think that's what happened in this case. I really do. I think before the Wabash River search, this case was coming to a stop. I mean, they didn't have anything. They didn't have a lot. And, they decided, let's go talk to Keaton Klein one more time, see if we can get some information out of him. And they went to, Keaton Klein, and he lied right to his face because he's a literal piece of shit, garbage, piece of crap, lying crap, piece of crap. I mean, if you listen and believe anything that Keaton Klein says, I don't know if I can help you. I just don't. He's a lying sack of shit. He's exactly where he should be. He's not innocent in any of this either, but he just, he lied right to their face. And they bought it. I don't know. It's just, but you got to do it. You got to, but I keep saying there was a pause. I remember there was a pause in the Wabash River search. I think it was the second week or the third week. I can't remember. because they were there in the water. They had metal detectors. They were clearing land. They were doing everything. They had, tape everywhere. They had markers everywhere. And then they just vanished for like a weekend. And I think it's at that point is probably where they found that tip. And then remember we had the helicopter ride with Doug Carter coming in. I think that's when they called it quits and said, we got a lead here and we're going to follow here. But I think that's probably when they found that tip, because that would have been close to the middle or the end of September.
Ritualistic killing. They identified alternative suspects who they say practice these pagan beliefs, who they believe are responsible for the murders. They want a jury to hear about them. The state argued today to try and prevent that. A defense expert who specializes in symbols and ritualistic homicides told the court today, quote, "In my opinion, this is a textbook ritual murder." The expert based that on where the girls were killed, in the woods near water, how they were killed, and what she says were symbols left at the scene, sticks placed on the girls' bodies, and markings on a tree in one of the victims' blood. The expert testified in a ritual killing, it's believed a symbol made with a victim's blood holds magical powers.
I mean, we literally know how they treated Ron Logan, right? I mean, that's not a secret. They were desperately trying to get something out of him. So, yeah, believe me, I've been there. I know what can go on in prisons and jails. No, you don't want to go to prison or jail. You just don't.
An expert for the state who specializes in blood spatter analysis testified he believed the markings on the tree came from one of the victim's hands, saying, quote, "The best explanation for the pattern on the tree was from a transfer stain." The defense also offered several alternate...
I mean, I've never thought that looked like an F. So there you go. You don't just... it's just my opinion, though.
Suspects they believe are responsible for the murder. All of them, according to the defense, practice a pagan religion tied to white supremacy. The defense offered as evidence a Facebook post from one of them, showing what the defense and investigators who looked at this person believed was a sketch mimicking the crime scene. That man's ex-wife testified he told her in 2018 while they were still married, he knew who killed the girls and, quote, "I needed to keep my mouth shut. If I talked about it, they would kill me." But the prosecutor...
I'm telling you one thing right now, Steve. My money's on Mrs. Steve. Steve arrested 14 people once at a Waffle House. Oh. Mr. Steve is the greatest person in the world. I mean, him and Mrs. Steve, they're just great freaking people. I tried to make you live tonight, but I had to fart around with this freaking riding lawnmower over here for a couple hours, and then I wanted to go on a live and do the tropics stuff. So excuses, I know.
Prosecution argued while questioning some of the investigators who looked at these alternate suspects that none of them could be tied to Delphi or the crime scene on the day of the murders. Well, after a marathon day, Judge Francis Gall only ruled on one matter, and that is where Richard Allen will be held until trial. The defense wanted him moved from...
It's kind of funny how she moves him now, right? Like 2 months away from trial here.
State prison to either a jail in Cass County or Tippecanoe County. Judge Gall ruled Allen should be turned over to the Carroll County Sheriff. But earlier this week, the Carroll County Sheriff, Tony Liggett, said they can't accommodate Allen in a jail here. The defense shared a letter from the sheriff in Cass County saying they could take Allen. Now, the Carroll County Sheriff not saying tonight where Allen will be going or when that will happen. No word on when we could expect a decision from Judge Gall on all the other motions discussed this week. In Delphi, Emily Longnecker, 13 News.
There were lots of motions filed and issues raised by both sides in the courtroom today. Our Karen Campbell talked with a local legal analysis about the big...
You know who's really good is, I don't know if anybody has seen Lawyer Lee. I think her name's Lawyer Lee. She's got long blonde hair. She does a really good job. Hey, lighting their way home. How are you? Good to see you. Great live today. You did a great job on the Adam Montgomery stuff. Probably a question for Steve. Steve might know.
Issues that she took away from those proceedings. Karen?
Well, Scott, defense attorney and legal expert Katie Jackson Lindsay says there are some key things to consider. First, will the state be as evidence for a jury? Allen's attorneys say those confessions were coerced and to some extent elicited by law enforcement.
And so to that end,
look at the difference. I mean, it's like night and day. Here he is now, then, and there he is now. And what a complete difference. He looks like a completely different person.
To some extent elicited by law enforcement.
And so to that end, Judge Gold has to now parse through each of those statements and determine whether there have been some conditions that have violated his rights in being able to get those confessions. And so the outcome of that ruling is extremely significant.
And second, will the defense be able to present evidence of an alternative theory that someone else committed the murders?
And so if the jury, after hearing all the evidence, determines there are two things that could have happened here. It could have been a ritualistic killing, or it could have been Richard Allen. They are going to be instructed by law that they have to choose the theory consistent with his innocence.
So again, a lot of questions still to answer before Allen's trial in October. Scott.
All right, Karen, thanks so much. And you can learn all about this big case before it goes to trial. Just scan this QR code. That'll take you right to WTHR.com/Delphi. And we posted all of our past coverage and our full reports from this week's hearing.
Could you imagine just being at a Waffle House? Oh, God, it's just so freaking funny, Steve. Oh, my God. I'm telling you, it's on the bucket list. Hitting a Waffle House with Steve. That'd be so funny. It'd be so freaking... I don't know. I asked the same question, Dean. Because the last time we went down through there wasn't any Shoney's at all. We had to really, really look for one. And all right, what am I doing now? All right, let's. I can get rid of this here. I mean, the Orion system is probably one of the most sophisticated systems in the entire world. It's just I just don't know how that got screwed up. I don't. But a lot of things I don't know. All right, we're going to go on to something different now, I think. Once my computer starts working here. All right, we'll play this, and then I'll go to the other case. Hold on a second here. Waiting for my computer to go here. Actually, we'll do this one. So I don't know if anybody's been following the Chad Dorman case over there in, I think it was Ohio. But he took a plea deal. Let me play this here. Whoop. All right, let's share this here. So he took a plea deal, probably to save the family, the rest of the family, or the surviving family, anyways, some less torture here. So we'll play this here, and then I want to go to that Hawaii case. Right. Trying to be very careful with this computer here. All right, here we go.
290301A and unclassified.
All right, so this guy here, Chad Dorman, he was accused of unaliving his 3 sons. I mean, everybody knows he did it, but he tried pulling the insanity card, and come to find out, he just got a plea deal, and he'll probably never see, hopefully never see, free time again.
Felony, how do you plead? Guilty. Count 2, aggravated murder in violation of 290301A and unclassified felony. How do you plead? Guilty.
Chad Dorman, the man who hunted down his 3 young sons on a summer day and shot them to death, pleads guilty.
He will die in prison.
The nightmare of attending court proceedings for the boy's family is over. Welcome to Crime Fix. I'm Anjanette Levy. Chad Dorman will spend the rest of his life in prison. He has now admitted, after nearly 14 months, that he came home from work early on June 15th of last year and shot his 3 little boys. Clayton was just 7 years old, Hunter was 4, and Chase was 3. Clayton and Hunter played baseball in Claremont County, Ohio, east of Cincinnati. The boys' obituaries said that Chase one day wanted to play baseball just like his big brothers. Most little boys worship their fathers, and the Dorman boys were probably no different. But on that sunny summer day last summer, Chad Dorman committed the ultimate act of betrayal. He came home early from work, grabbed a Bible.
So this guy here, this is the guy that was sitting on the front step with a, weapon, and just unalived his whole family, literally, except for the daughter, and she ran for her life. Now he's going to prison for the rest of his life, and a lot of people are upset that they didn't, go with the DP here, but
and walked around the house mumbling, Chad knows what's right. He was scaring his then wife as he tried to get into the gun safe in their bedroom. Dorman, according to court records, told her he was kidding. She was worried, so she and one of the boys laid down in bed with him. And then Dorman started shooting. Dorman's wife tried to save her boys, as did her older daughter,
By the way, this is going to be triggering.
Dorman's stepdaughter. Dorman's now ex-wife grabbed the barrel of the gun and he shot her through the thumb. She tried to get one of her boys to run, but the boy could not get away fast enough. Clayton, Chase, and Hunter's
Look
mom.
at these kids. They all look the same. I mean, it's just, this is the stuff that makes you angry right here. This is awful.
Sister could not stop the slaughter.
My daughter, she ran over to the fire department.
Sit down.
It's my stepdaughter.
Put him in the cage.
Dorman was taken away by sheriff's deputies.
Can you get the wallet out of my back pocket?
I mean, you just hope this guy would have just resisted arrest, but what can you do?
Shut up, dude. You had the right to remain silent.
There was little question that Dorman had committed these crimes, but he was innocent until proven guilty, as anyone else charged with a crime would be.
Really?
Claremont County Prosecutor Mark Tucolvy announced his intent to seek the death penalty.
My goal was to have this man executed for slaughtering these 3 little boys.
But then Dorman's statement to law enforcement was suppressed because he had asked for a lawyer, and a detective continued to question him anyway. After that ruling from the judge, Dorman changed his plea to not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect. He had essentially said he pulled the trigger, but didn't know what he was doing was wrong at the time because of mental illness.
And we're here this afternoon because I have been advised that a plea agreement has been reached in this matter.
That brings us to today, and Dorman pleading guilty to the aggravated murder of his 3 little boys.
As to count 1, aggravated murder in violation of 290301A an unclassified felony. How do you plead? Guilty. Count 2, aggravated murder in violation of 290301A, an unclassified felony. How do you plead? Guilty. Count 3, aggravated murder in violation of 290301A, an unclassified felony. How do you plead? Guilty.
Prosecutor Mark Tacalvi outlined what Dorman did on June 15th of last year.
The defendant did purposely and with prior calculation and design cause the death of his 3 children. Clayton Dorman, age 7, Hunter Dorman, age 4, and Chase Dorman, age 3. On that date, Judge, June 15, 2023, the defendant returned home early from work and had his family, including his wife, Laura Dorman, with him. All 3 of the boys joined him in the master bedroom for a nap. At some point after lying down with the 4 of them, the defendant got out of bed, opened a gun safe that was next to the bed, removed a Marlin model HC-22 rifle from the gun safe and loaded the magazine. The defendant shot his son, Hunter Dorman, twice while in the bedroom. His wife, Laura, began to render aid to Hunter and yelled for the other children to run. Laura's 14-year-old daughter, Alexis, who had been watching television in the family room, made her way to the master bedroom and witnessed the killing of Hunter. Alexis immediately began to run and indicated that Chasen had fled out the back door. Clayton had fled out the back door, and that Chad Dorman was following Clayton. She ran to help to try to protect Clayton.
Tacalvi then described what happened outside of the home.
The 3 of them go out the back door. Clayton's first, then.
Look at this guy. Like, absolutely no emotion on his face whatsoever. None. Zippo.
There's the defendant, and then Alexis. Alexis witnesses the defendant chase after Clayton, raised his rifle, fired numerous shots at Clayton as he fled, and saw Clayton fall in the field after he was struck by the gunfire. Alexis then watched as the defendant approached while he's injured, lying on the ground, defenseless, and saw the defendant put a bullet in Clayton's head, killing him.
Tacalvi said Laura Dorman then tried to save her baby, 3-year-old Chase.
Laura and the defendant struggled over the weapon. Laura was bitten as she tried to protect Chase from the defendant. The defendant stopped the bullet. She was shot in the thumb.
This is not an act. You know, he's not acting here. This is just, I mean, could you imagine being the officers that came up on the scene? I wouldn't have been able to do it, man. I'm telling you. That's me. I would have gone nuts. I just would have gone crazy.
Ultimately, she had to drop Chase. During this point in time, the defendant was able to reload the firearm. He pointed the gun at Chase's head and executed him, 1 round to his skull.
Unfortunately, the world is not always a safe place. And when accidents happen, you may need an attorney that's going to fight for you and stand up for your rights. That's why I want to tell you about Morgan & Morgan, a sponsor of Crime Fix. Morgan & Morgan has more than 1,000 attorneys that you may want in your corner because they are America's largest injury law firm, and for a good reason. They win a lot. And when I say a lot, I mean they win a lot. Morgan & Morgan has won several multi-million-dollar verdicts and settlements recently for victims who were in life-altering car crashes, all of which were considerably higher than the highest insurance company offer. Starting a claim to
family. It is the most heartbreaking and emotional thing anyone could go through. Chad, I miss you, and I miss the boys dearly, and nothing will ever be the same again because of you. Whenever something exciting happens, I always just want to tell you because I know you would be so proud of me. Softball to me isn't the same anymore because that was our sport. And that was the boys' sport. You made me an amazing ball player. And whenever I play softball, there isn't one game where I don't think about you. And whenever I get a good hit or I learn a new pitch, I always wish I could tell you because I know you would be so proud of me.
Happy birthday. Hey, Mustang, how are you? Good to see you. Happy birthday, Gail. 71 years young. This is just an awful case. It's just terrible.
And when good things like that happen, it sucks to look on the sideline and not see you be there, and for the boys not to be cheering me on like they always did. Very hard on my grades. And I was on the honor roll this past year. And I know for a fact, if you were there to see it, you would be so happy for me because my grades have always been so important to me. Another thing that has impacted me was every single holiday. Waking up on Christmas isn't the same anymore. I don't get excited. I don't even look forward to having presents because it's not the same. I don't get to wake up early and wake the boys up. I don't get to hide the elf. I don't get to do any of the fun stuff anymore because they're gone and you took their lives. And Chad, when you go to bed every single night, I want you to know that when you...
I don't know, honestly, I don't know what I would have done. I mean, that's just me. I know you have to keep it cool. You know, you're a law enforcement officer, but I mean, the brutality of that is just, I mean, they deserve all the money they get. In my opinion, it's probably never, you probably never stop seeing something like that. It's just, and I know it's the same with everybody. It's not just kids, but you see, it's just, I don't know what I would have done.
You took those 3 boys' lives away. You took mine and you took my mom's. Chad, I don't think you understand how hard it is to wake up every day and to see my friends and people around me have siblings and to hear them talk about what they did with their siblings that day or how much they enjoy having a brother. Because deep down, that hurts me so badly and so emotionally because it hurts to know I will never get to experience another day with my 3 brothers or to make any memories anymore because their innocent lives were taken away so quickly and horribly by their own father.
The prosecutor then read the statement of Laura Dorman, Chad Dorman's now ex-wife, the mother of Clayton, Hunter, and Chase, who desperately tried to save her boys' lives.
My life was changed forever. My life was ripped away from me and destroyed. Since that day...
Gail Hurd is awesome. She's always in these chats. I see her all the time in Steve's chat, and she's just a great person. Happy birthday to you on Wednesday.
I have spent every day grieving the loss of my 3
I hope the cake is good.
Sweet, so very little sons. I grieve the loss of Clayton, Hunter, and Chase every single day, and I grieve the life that they did not get to live. I no longer get to raise them and watch them grow. I miss each one of them so very much.
Everybody in this chat is awesome. It's, I know you probably hear this all the time from everybody, but I have the greatest subscribers. Oh, by the way, if anybody wants a wrench, let me know, because there's great channels out there Mr. Steve obviously is just, there's Miss Persevere has a channel. There's Lighting the Way Home. Our great friend Southern Gal, I hope she's doing well. I know she's dealing with some issues right now, but Southern Gal, if you're listening, we're all thinking about you. We all can't wait till you get back. I wish I could just drive down there, give you a big hug. But everybody, if you want wrenches and post your channels, I have no problem with people posting channels in this chat. The more we get the word out there for some of these cases, and I know I'm covering some of the, more talked about cases tonight, but the next week I'm going to get back to doing some more, stuff that people haven't heard about. But there's been so much going on with the major cases this week. Please do not wrench Snarky. Okay. But if you guys want wrenches, you guys want to post channels that you guys like in here, feel free to do that. Just let me know. You don't have to do anything if you have a wrench. You don't have to worry about, monitoring the chat or anything, or it's just there if you want to post your channels in here. Because I know if you don't have a wrench, I don't think you can do that.
I miss their laughter, silliness, love, and joy for life. Where there used to be so much laughter, happiness, noise of rowdy little boys.
They have a term for this. I forget what it's called, fratricide or something like that. I heard a psychologist or somebody talking about this a few weeks ago on one of my many drives at night. And they were talking about how some of these people feel like it's better if they unalive the whole family. It would be better for them to unalive them all than to make it without you. I mean, that's basically a breakdown of it. It's just sick. It's it's psychotic. Dean Johnson, check out my OnlyFans. No thanks, buddy. I like you, but no thanks. Jocelyn's awesome too. All right, let's get back to this.
There is now silence and emptiness. I would do anything to push them on the swing, cover them up one more time, and hear their little ways of saying, I love you. All of it gone when I should have had so much more life left to live with them. I asked myself how a mother is supposed to carry on a life as a mom with one child left here on earth and 3 gone forever. I struggle every day with the will to get up or give up. Life for me is the true pain and suffering. I will never agree to think that any form of punishment could amount to the form of torture and suffering I have to endure.
I just can't do it anymore. I'd be in a courtroom where thanks, Dad. Big sign. Thanks, buddy. I just can't. It's just these things just drive me crazy. You can find this at Law and Crime Network if you want to see the whole thing. But this poor mom, like, what is she supposed to do now? It just sucks. All right, so let's stop sharing that. I want to go to this one here. This is the case I was talking about earlier this week. Let's see here. This is the case out of Hawaii that I was talking about. I started following this case a couple of years ago, I think. But this is the news conference they had. This is about the suspect in the Dana Island case. So let's play this. They exonerated the 2 people that thought they had did this. So here we go.
The Hawaii Police Department has remained resolute in investigating this case and following that evidence wherever it might lead. We remain committed to solving this case and helping bring closure both to the Ireland family and to the Big Island community. Earlier this year, an FBI agent from the Honolulu field office contacted our police investigators with the names of some people who could potentially be identified as unknown male number one. One of the names provided was that of 57-year-old Albert Loro Jr. Loro Jr. lived in the Kapoho area, which is the scene of the Ireland murder, at the time of the murder. In the weeks since, investigators collected a utensil that Loro Jr. had been using after he discarded it, and the DNA from that utensil was analyzed and found to be a match to unknown male number one. Tragically, Loro died on July 23rd.
Okay, so
there's for a case that's coming up on Tuesday, and there have been three main issues that have been brought up through that reporting and through that filing that I wanted to address before I take any questions. The first question, so there has been significant reporting. There's been some filing for a case that's coming up on Tuesday, and there have been three main issues that have been brought up through that reporting and through that filing that I wanted to address before I take any questions. The first question is, why didn't we arrest Laurel on July 19th? So in the time after we preliminarily identified Laurel and we got the preliminary DNA match that listed him as unidentified male number one, we were forced, as we always are in any criminal investigation, to do some analysis. That analysis started with determining what crimes or what categories of crimes had been committed. In this case, we had a murder, we had a sexual assault, which was called rape in the 1990s, and we had a kidnapping case. Unfortunately, in the 32 and a half years that have...
So basically what happened in this case here is they arrested the Schweitzer brothers, but after, I forget what it was, I think it was 19 years, not sure. They're going to exonerate these guys, and these guys literally confessed to it.
Transpired since Christmas Eve 1991. The statute of limitations has run out for the sexual assault or rape case. The only statute of limitations that remains in effect currently is that for the murder case. So when the question is, why didn't we arrest Laurel on July 19th when we invited him in for a consensual encounter? The answer is, the evidence that we had at the time certainly would have indicated to us that he had a sexual encounter with the victim on or around the time of her murder. That's pretty reasonable. But aside from that, we felt, and we continue to feel, that there was not...
Have a good night, Steve. Thanks for coming in, buddy. I'll probably email you that question I have about the phone. Steve is awesome. Mrs. Steve is awesome. Steve does amazing work. Good night, buddy. Yeah, I agree with that. There shouldn't be a statute for that, but it's just laws need to be changed for sure. But anyways, this guy, this suspect here is dead. I mean, he died. So, but this is the guy that actually committed the crime and not the Schweitzer brothers. So I'm playing this.
Probable cause at that time, based on what we knew, that Laurel committed the offense of murder, which is the only...
Basically, what I'm saying is people confess all the time. That doesn't mean they did it. And that happens more than people think it does.
Charge was left to investigate. In order to arrest someone or charge them or convict them of murder, we have to be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the person's conduct was intentional or knowing and that they caused the death of another person. So of those elements, the death of another person is clear. Dana Ireland died nearly 33 years ago. But we felt then, and we continue to feel, that the presence of Laurel's DNA at the crime scene was in and of itself not sufficient evidence to prove that Laurel intentionally or knowingly caused her death. We feel that this is definitely an important part of the investigation, and most of the best information that we had planned to get in the course of this search for the truth, we at that point believed would have come from Mr. Laurel. So when we invited him in for a consensual encounter, we sat down, we talked to him for about an hour, and at the end of about the hour, we collected a court-ordered DNA sample to compare against the exemplars that we already had. And Mr. Laurel indicated that he wanted to leave. So at that point, we have to make a choice. We're either going to arrest Mr. Laurel based on what we know, or we're not going to arrest him. We made the decision not to arrest him because, as I said, the evidence was not sufficient, in our opinion, to prove that he intentionally or knowingly caused Dana Ireland's death. That doesn't mean that's the end of the story. There are a lot of other investigative avenues, techniques, search warrants that we have been working on, that we plan to continue working on. In fact, just this afternoon, in the last 2 hours, we're finally able to use technology, we hope, in his friends and family members who either knew him through the search for what really happened. The second question I want to address is what would have happened if Laurel had been arrested on or around July 19th when we brought him in for a consensual interview? Would he still be alive today? So the answer to that, again, is a little bit complicated. We have to take a look at what would have happened if we had made an arrest without probable cause. As any good attorney, defense attorney, or prosecutor or police officer will tell you, if you make an arrest without probable cause, anything that follows that arrest, whether it be a confession or physical evidence or the identity of another witness, anything that arises out of that arrest is going to be challenged based on what we knew during the arrest. So we face the very real possibility that if we had arrested Mr. Laurel without probable cause, that anything we gathered as a result of that process could be excluded, which is absolutely not what we wanted. The other thing to consider is this. If we had made the decision to arrest Mr. Laurel on July 19th, then his name, his identity would have been made public several days before he ultimately decided to.
So basically, they brought him in for questioning, then they had to let him go, and then he unalived himself. And,
commit suicide. I can't imagine if he had been arrested that within 48 hours, as required by Hawaii Revised Statute, that the prosecutor's office or any state agency would have authorized us levying a charge, which means that within 48 hours, Mr. Laurel would have been released. And all of you would have been standing at his driveway to welcome him home. Because it's a story, right? It's important. So there were parts and there were pieces of the investigation but we did that on purpose. As I mentioned, what I feel would have been the best evidence in this case would have come from Mr. Laurel. Unfortunately, we're not in a situation where we can get that from him now. So the journey continues. And then the last question that I want to address is what happens now? Now that Albert Laurel Jr. is died, does that mean it's the end of the road? And the answer is absolutely not. We remain committed, as we have since day one, of solving this case, to follow the evidence, the physical evidence, the testimonial evidence, the eyewitness testimony, as far as we can. Wherever that path leads us, that's where we're going, because ultimately it's our responsibility to provide justice for the victim, Dana Ireland in this case, and closure to her family and the citizens of the Big Island. At this point, the investigation is continuing, and our search for the truth is absolutely not over. We've taken an opportunity to share photos of Mr. Laurel, both recent and time period, approximately 3 or 4 years before the murder. And we would ask that if people in the community knew Mr. Laurel or know of any involvement he may have had in this case, to please contact us. Contact Captain Rio Eamon Wilkins at 961-2251 or by email. And all of his contact information is in the press release published on our website, hawaiipolice.com. And with that,
all right, let me, I'm going to play this one here. This was done 2 days ago here. And then we'll move on to something else. But I just wanted to play this because, people talk about the confessions lately of Rich and Alan, and I'm not saying that he's innocent or guilty. I'm just saying people confess all the time to things. When you're in sometimes when you're in, especially in a interrogation room, for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, you will do things that you normally wouldn't do. Probably, they have funny ways of getting things out.
Two Schweitzer brothers are back in court today in hopes of getting a hold of more evidence in the Dana Ireland murder investigation. And that includes a taped interview with the new suspect. Our Big Island Bureau Chief, Jeremy Lee, now joins us live outside the Hilo courtroom where they just wrapped up the hearing. Jeremy, what's the latest in court today?
I just had a chance to speak to the Schweitzer brothers over the phone. You're going to hear from them momentarily. Court proceedings have been continued until Monday. Of course, the Schweitzer brothers and the Innocence Project are asking that all materials be released, including the interview taped with the suspect, Albert Lauro Jr., before he killed himself. Now, standing in the way of the release of those materials are lawyers for the county and the police department, arguing that this is an open investigation. In the meantime, I spoke to the Schweitzer brothers about the tumultuous events of the last 2 weeks and how lawyers for the police department and county stand in opposition. You see those lawyers in court just moments ago here in Hilo. The county opposing a motion to have the Schweitzer brothers' innocence proclaimed. Both had charges dropped, of course, with Ian Schweitzer spending over 20 years in prison. And now the big shakeup. On July 19th, the Hawaii Police Department administered a court-ordered DNA test to Puna fisherman Albert Lauro Jr. after they had interviewed him, and it was expected to match the 1991 crime scene. Why? Because a discarded fork from his plate lunch had already been a match.
Yeah, people do it all the time, especially, I haven't seen necessarily evil for a while. I'd probably never do it. I'd probably never commit to something, I didn't do. But, once the prosecution gets a hold of you, now you're going to have to rely on a jury. And that's at best 50-50. Some people will take the deal or no deal.
Now, an Innocence Project and the falsely accused Schweitzer brothers want that taped interview and all other surveillance released, as Laura was allowed to walk after the interview and then killed himself. The Schweitzer brothers crediting the Innocence Project with essentially solving.
Shout out to New York Innocence Project, Hawaii Innocence Project, many lawyers on our.
Say what you want about some of these innocent projects and getting to the bottom of some of these cases is actually really good because, again, I'll say a lot of people think DNA is a great tool for convicting people. It's also a great tool for, absolving people's guilt. Especially these days here because DNA technology is getting so much more advanced. They can take the slightest amount and do whatever. So it kind of sometimes exonerates people too at the same time.
Our team, and Jeremy, let me tell you, when I was sitting in prison with a lot of faith and a lot of hope, the fastest scenario for me to get out of prison was to solve the crime, solve the case, solve the real killer and rapist.
It's a tremendous injustice to Dana, because she is the ultimate victim, and our team gave them the fucking solve the crime, and for Dana, and they just.
These guys literally confessed. Now, I don't know the reasoning for the confessions, but they literally had nothing to do with this crime.
Treated it like it was nothing. So it's frustrating. It's
What do you think they should do?
Common sense wise, they should do the right thing.
And the Schweitzers say that would mean releasing everything, that would be the right thing, including proclaiming their innocence. Now, the Innocence Project has filed for that Albert Lauro Jr. interview from July 19th.
I wish I wish I had one of those emojis like, oh, Heather. We don't even know what we don't even want to know what you did.
4 days before he killed himself, as well as surveillance of Laura, both before and after the July 19th interview. The Innocence Project is asking all of it come to light. They maintain it has been years of false information, including later recanted his testimony. Now, ultimately, what is next? We'll expect a lot of back and forth when it comes to the county corporation council and the lawyers for the police department, again, trying to quash the release of this information. A lot of eyes are going to be.
That's why, sometimes I'm not a really big fan of transfer DNA because, transfer DNA can happen to anybody, really. You figure you're in a mall, sitting down on a bench, you get up, somebody sits down next to you, or somebody sits down in the same bench after you, your DNA gets transferred over to that other person ends up getting unalived, and they find your DNA in that house. Guess who's going to get, yes, I saw that with a criminal TV. Oh, I didn't see that. I was a little late.
Looking towards whether that tape is going to be released. They are going to meet again next week here in court to discuss that.
And if they got your DNA in that house with that person, that transfer of DNA, guess what? You're probably going to be going to prison for the rest of your life.
Many people feeling that that tape holds answers. Reporting live from Hilo, Jeremy Lee, Island News.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. Stay with Island News as we continue to follow the Ireland murder investigation.
But that's what I'm saying.
We will bring you the latest on the case on air, online.
Okay, I think we're good there. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing that. All right, so let's go. I'm going to go down here to this quickly here. Back to this case again, the Matty Soto case. There's more information about this coming out with, this is probably going to be a little disturbing too. I don't know if anybody's heard this stuff this week, but more details revealed by the suspect's mom in new documents. So this guy's mother.
Stearns talking to detectives the day before he was charged with trying to destroy evidence that investigators said showed him sexually abusing Matty Soto. Prosecutors would later charge Stearns with murdering Matty. And now we're learning some stunning new details about what police claim Stearns' mother told them in the first days of the investigation. Welcome to Crime Fix. I'm Anjanette Levy. We've been digging into the Matty Soto murder.
It wouldn't be a chat without Dean and Heather in here. I mean, they're great. Great people.
Murder investigation for months, and now we've uncovered new information about what happened when detectives searched the home of Stefan Stearns' parents days after Matty went missing. This information is even more surprising given some of the statements that Stearns' mother Deborah made in messages to her son in jail. We'll get into that in just a bit, but first we have to go over the timeline. That's important here. Matty was reported missing on the evening of February 26th when her mom went to pick her up at school and she didn't come out.
So she was supposed to be dropped off at school, didn't make it to school.
Didn't make it to school. I went to pick her up from school today and she never came out. They announced it over the speaker and I'm just like, maybe she walked here because sometimes she'll walk here to this office. I came here, nothing. I went back to the school, they were closed. I got an email from the school saying she was absent, but I also...
Yeah, sure, Heather. Where the hell is Karen Lee anyways? Karen Lee's usually in here for a couple of minutes. Maybe she's lurking in the background. Yeah, this guy here is... speak for yourself. Ruckus is always debating somebody. Is he still going on about the Keegan Klein stuff? My God.
Messaged her teacher and he looked at her entire attendance today and saw that she was completely not at school today either. So she never made it.
Jen Soto talked to the deputy for a few minutes explaining what Matty was wearing when she left for school.
Madeline Soto, age 13. I'm trying to get a clothing description now. What was she last seen wearing?
Green hoodie.
Green hoodie.
White Crocs.
White Crocs.
Either blue or black pants. I think black shorts.
Black shorts?
Yeah.
Black shorts.
I always find that part of the interaction interesting because Jen Soto would later tell detectives that she didn't see Maddie before she left for school that morning, that she maybe heard her and Stearns getting ready to leave. Stearns was interviewed the morning after Maddie was reported missing. That was February 27th. And he told detectives about the last time that he saw Maddie.
I said, okay, let her out. Have a good day. Love you. Thanks. Love you too. And I turned around and was driving away and was watching her in my rearview mirror to make sure that she was going where she was supposed to go. And she was moving in that direction, but she was rummaging around in her backpack or something. What I assumed was probably headphones or something like that. But I find out later that she forgot her phone here, so she may have been rummaging for her phone. But she was still kind of making her way towards that direction, so it looked okay. Looked like any other day. And I just continued on.
Police and prosecutors would later say that statement was a lie and that Maddie was never dropped off at school the morning of February 26th.
Our detectives have determined that Madeline was never dropped off on the morning of February 26th near her school. Instead, we believe she was already dead at the time and that Stephen Stearns moved her body in the early morning hours on that day.
Sheriff's officials also revealed that Stearns also drove with Maddie's dead body in the passenger seat of that silver Lincoln he was driving the morning of February 26th, and that he even returned to the complex where they lived.
We have video evidence that shows Stephen Stearns discarding items in a dumpster in that apartment complex in Kissimmee at 7:35 on Monday, February 26th. Detectives later recovered Madeline's backpack and her school-issued laptop from that dumpster.
Detectives in Kissimmee tracked Stearns' movements using license plate readers. They basically knew the route that he...
Yeah, I just subbed to that one too, Blue-Eyed Trucker. Yeah, no, Ruckus is a good person.
He took when he left that morning. Even though he was a suspect in Maddie's disappearance early on, detectives still could not find her body. So they asked police to search the home of Stearns' parents in Northport, about 3 hours south of Kissimmee. That's the view of the house on Google Maps. You see the silver Lincoln in the driveway. The police reports from that search are interesting when it comes to Stearns' mother. Officer Fegan wrote, "On our arrival, we observed a female later identified as..."
It says, on our arrival, we observed a female later identified as her mom, his mom, outside a residence and calling out for a redacted. 2 vehicles were present at the residence at tan in color Lincoln bearing Florida tag 17-day D. Okay.
As Deborah Stearns outside her residence and calling out for, the name is redacted. That name being redacted will become important in a moment. The report continues. Contact was eventually made with Deborah, who was very emotional during our initial interaction.
Initially, Deborah only appeared to be upset by a torso she had found in her son Stefan's room. You gotta be kidding me. This was later determined to be a rubber plastic toy found by Deborah when she was cleaning her room where Stefan had been staying. What a piece of dog crap. Ugh.
Interaction. Initially, Deborah only appeared to be upset by a torso she found in her son Stefan's room. Deborah would elaborate on this torso and described it as a sex doll. This was later determined to be a rubber/plastic sex toy found by Deborah when she was cleaning the room where Stefan had been staying. Deborah advised that Stefan was not here, but she believed he had returned to the property last night. So this was February 28th, the Wednesday of that week, around 10 o'clock at night. It would have been dark outside. Maddie was reported missing 2 nights earlier on February 26th. It was later divulged, the report says, by Deborah that she was awoken at exactly 3:19 hours this morning to her 5 dogs barking in a manner to alert her that someone was at the house. Deborah's husband, Christopher Stearns, was not at home last night as he had ventured to Orange County at approximately 2300 hours to assist their son, Stefan Stearns, with a recent housing crisis. Deborah Stearns then explained the reasons why she believes Stefan would have returned to their home almost 3 hours south of Kissimmee. One part is redacted from the report, but then it says she believes Stefan could have returned for cash that was kept within the home by her and Christopher.
He stole from his own mother. It's a piece of crap.
Deborah Stearns then told the officer that she took something from Stefan's bedroom, but that is also redacted from the report. The officers took photos of Stefan Stearns' bedroom to document the way that it looked. They searched his parents' home and said they found nothing of evidentiary value. Now, this was the same night that Stefan Stearns was taken into custody by Orange County Sheriff's deputies, after the sheriff said they discovered Stearns had tried to delete evidence from his phone. At the same time Stearns was being booked into the jail, Northport police wrote, Deborah expressed her disgust at the crimes her son is alleged to have committed and is hoping that, name redacted, it's safe to assume she means Maddie, is found alive. Deborah opined that these allegations worried her to the point that when she found the, quote, sex torso, she initially believed it to be real. This then led her to exit her residence and call out for name redacted. That would be, of course, Maddie. The officer and a detective wrote that Deborah Stearns was worried that Stefan had returned to her home early that morning when the dogs awoke her and they were barking, and that he may have put Maddie in the woods behind their house. Of course, the officers searched the area and did not find Maddie. Stearns had been living with his parents. This is why Stearns told police he went to Kissimmee that Sunday prior to see.
This guy here is just, I don't know, beyond. It's just sickening.
Maddie and her mom.
It's my parents' house. They're old and they need help these days. And they got a house full of poodles and it's chaos. So I needed to come back up here and just get away from that. Between two deaf old people yelling at each other and poodles yapping all the time. It's enough to drive anyone up a wall. Just very happy to be back here.
That Sunday, Stearns drove his dad's silver Lincoln from his parents' home in Northport to the apartment where Maddie and her mom lived in Kissimmee. Less than 24 hours later, police said Maddie was dead after celebrating her 13th birthday with a party at her grandparents'. Hey, Crime Fix viewers, I want to tell you all about Wondery's awesome podcast, American Scandal. You can listen right now and explore the world in a tip saying that he saw a silver Lincoln and a man changing a flat tire there that Monday. Stearns told police that he got a flat tire the day that Maddie disappeared. He claimed it happened after he dropped her off for school.
Do you remember what places you visited?
Yeah, Coliseum.
Like I said, when it comes to opinions, I don't really have a problem. With people opinionated. I mean, that's how the world revolves. But it's so much more when it becomes to like an attacking thing. Like, I'm not going to go into somebody else's chat and attack somebody because I don't agree with them. It's not the way I'm going to do things. So I don't understand why people do that. I don't understand why people, if they don't like the chat or the channel, just get out of the channel. And you're stressing yourself out if you're going in there just to attack people. I just don't get it. But especially in a case like the Delphi case, because there's been so many different turns and twists, and a lot of it coming from law enforcement. So it's opinions are fine. My stuff is an opinion too. So I have no idea. I wasn't there. I don't know what happened, but. This guy here, the epitome of sickening.
Stopped by a couple of Targets, and I was going to go to House Rules Games down by Oak. And
he sounds so like nonchalant about what he's talking about. He just done a live, a child.
192. But I didn't make it that far. I got a flat tire on the way.
Do you remember where you got your flat tire?
It was on 192. I pulled into one of those plazas somewhere. It's been about 10 years since I switched out a tire, though, so I made a lot of rookie mistakes and ended up pinning my thumb between the frame and the jack. Yeah, I'm lucky it's not a lot worse than it could have been.
Now, back to what Stearns' mother said about her son and being disgusted by the allegations and hoping that Maddie would be found alive. It's interesting given what Deborah Stearns wrote to Stefan in jail at the end of June. That message says, I keep thinking about how you would not ever rat out a friend. It really made me mad, and I felt like you valued them over us when you...
See, I like Rick. Rick is, Rick is pretty honest. He's been wrong before too. Everybody's been wrong in the Delphi case. And Rick is specific to Delphi. So, I've watched Sleuth Intuition too, but he does the same stuff. I mean, he goes into other people's chats and disrupts chats too. I've heard them all. I followed Sleuth for 2 years, I think. 2 years. I just don't understand how people can talk about Delphi for 5 hours. I just don't. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's going to come down to 12 jurors, and hopefully, we can get an agreement or something so that we don't have to do this all over again. But I'm not gonna knock somebody just because they're got an opinion. Nobody knows.
You let them get away with stuff. Don't be doing that again. We all know that Name Redacted was heavily involved in this, and I am disgusted that she is free and you are not, when this is not all your fault. You need to think about yourself more and her less. She sure isn't thinking of you and how she can help you right now. That whole family is willing to stay quiet and let you take the fall for everything.
Yeah, and I can't believe the people on that channel that were so-called guests on that channel didn't call her out and say something. Like, it's not him. I've seen it all. When back when I think it was about a year ago now, when the Flora case wasn't sexy, it wasn't a big topic, and then people wanted to get some more attention on the case. Rick stood up. Rick stood up and said, "Sure, let's do it." I don't remember anybody of these other people doing it. So I don't mind Sleuth. Sleuth's good. But, I have no problem with opinions. I just don't. I watch Tom Webster a lot too. I don't agree with everything he says either. I watch Mr. Steve. I've watched Ruckus. I never believed the Kleins were involved in this. But you say the wrong thing in the wrong chat and people attack you, you got to kind of stick up for yourself. I just, that's how I feel. And Rick's been right along all the time with the Keegan Klein stuff. I never bought into it. I never bought the MS stuff. If you pay a criminal to get information from a criminal, you're probably going to get lied to. I mean, that's your own fault. I can't do anything about that. I can't. Doesn't make them bad people. It's just, but I guarantee you 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, if they would have indicted Keegan Klein in this case or that case, they probably would have been able to get a conviction. And according to police now, he had nothing. They can't even bring his name up in the trial. So according to police now, he had nothing to do with this. That's how these things go. Nobody knows.
When you do that, you are hurting us too. Please get out of your head over this and start talking with.
And I think Richard Allen's guilty. That's, I'm about 80%, but what the hell do I know? I don't know. I'm just going over the, the evidence and, that's my opinion. But do I know? No, I don't.
With your attorneys. This stuff is serious and you need to approach it as life and death, which it is. I think of the craziness that Name Redacted lived through with Name Redacted, various partners, not a stable life at all for a child. I do pray for Name Redacted and for you daily. In that message, Deborah Stearns is clearly talking about Maddie and her.
I was one of the first people that started following Gazella. She's great. She's an awesome person. Do I agree with her 100% of the time? Absolutely not. But that doesn't make her a bad person. Rick has his own theories. I have my own theories. Other channels have their own theories, and not like I'm going to go in there and say you're a bad person for having your own theory. No, I can't do that because they're just theories. They're just opinions. Nothing's written in stone. We're not part of the investigation team. We have no clue. I don't.
Her mother, Jen Soto. Jen Soto has not been charged with any crimes related to Maddie's death or disappearance. I want to bring in Dave Ehrenberg. He is the state attorney for Palm Beach County. He is not involved in this case, though. Dave, your thoughts on this crazy police report?
I watched Bob Motta the other night, too. And he said some things on his live that I'm pretty sure most of the chat people in his chat didn't like. But it is what it is. Confessions are confessions. They're going to have a hard time overcoming those confessions. I just know that. If they get entered into the trial, it's not going to go well. People just don't, most people, when they hear confessions, they're like, he did it, that's just the way it is. Juries sometimes, there's nothing you could do about a jury. Do I know that's going to happen? No, I don't. I mean, you never know what a jury is going to do. You just don't. You got to get 12 people to agree on it. But confessions, I've watched enough cases to know that confessions are like gold. It's really hard to persuade a jury not to take a confession seriously. But who knows? I don't know.
We read where Maddie Soto is missing, and the cops go to search his parents' house, and mom is outside yelling Maddie's name and saying she found a sex torso, what she thought was a sex torso in his.
Rick thinks the bodies were moved. I don't think the bodies were moved at all. But that doesn't mean I think he's a horrible person. Hey, Charlotte, how are you? Good to see you. Welcome, Charlotte. It's always good to see you. Yep. No, people do. People confess all the time. Like I said, I would not be surprised if there were hundreds of people that confessed to the Delphi case. I would not be surprised if hundreds of people confessed in the Brian Kohlberger case. People confess all the time. Does it mean they did it? I don't know. But I do know that juries don't like it.
His bedroom.
Yeah, when I became a prosecutor, I never thought I'd be on a podcast talking about sex torsos, but here we are. This case is bizarre. It's disgusting. And according to the police report, it sounds like the mother, thought it was a real live body. And so that's why she called the police. She got all frantic. She realized then it was a sex.
I mean, I still think it's possible. And I really have I do have a little bit of evidence to kind of support it, but I still believe that, Ron Logan might have found the bodies later that night. Like I said, I have a little bit of a sliver, especially now finding that they found a sweater in his house. I think a sweater in his laundry that didn't belong to him. Yeah, Dean's awesome. Me and Dean haven't agreed 100%, but it doesn't mean he's a bad person. It's hard for me to believe that his phone's pinged around the crime scene and he wasn't there. But I don't know. But I could see him, working around it. We know he was home, maybe he heard something in the woods, and didn't think anything of it at the time. But then when people started coming around looking for two kids, Maybe he decided, you know what, I better go check this out. You know,
torso, but she still didn't trust her son enough that she was calling out for Maddie. But the other part of the police reports we're learning, to me, that was really relevant was that she.
I mean, I don't think he had anything to do with the crime itself, but, you know, nobody knew that property like he did.
Has always thought that there were others involved. I think perhaps that goes to more of the jail calls, but she's a big believer that the mother is the main culprit here. And, you know, there's been a lot of talk on the internet that the mother should be arrested. But I think that if the police and prosecutors had enough evidence against the mother to charge her with a crime, they would have done so already.
Yeah, and we've been pretty clear about that. You know, there's been a lot of speculation and suspicion because in the police reports, it does note that Jen Soto made some inconsistent statements, but that she faces no charges in this case. The police have said they have interviewed her.
I don't think anybody's been attacked more than Rick. I've been following Rick for a long time, and he's been like a pincushion, you know. And there's somebody to blame, you know. But I can understand why people don't like him. But, you know, it's differing opinions, I guess. I don't know. I like Miranda Lee. Miranda Lee's a great person. Miranda Lee is an awesome person. She's always in his chats. And in my opinion, it's all about finding out who the freaking person is and giving the victims' families some comfort, some answers, some help, you know, like if we can. You know, it's always going to be about that with me. I don't care about the drama. I don't care about the who hates who doesn't like who. It's all about Abby and Libby. You know, it's all about Maddie Soto. It's all about it's just you know, it sucks. It's what gets left behind in all of this. It's never going to be about me. That's for sure. It's about the families. You know, it's about those poor kids that were out there that got brutally unalived. It's just, you know, but I just want the right person. You know, whoever did this, I hope they get the worst punishment that could ever be dished out. That's my opinion right there.
You've also said the investigation is ongoing. But it does seem, you know, there is a difference here, Dave. We have mom, Deborah Stearns, you know, the night that he is arrested for trying to allegedly delete photos of sexual abuse of Maddie off of his phone, out yelling for Maddie, thinking possibly that her son, she thinks that he hid her body in the woods behind the yard. She's fearful that this sex toy thing she found in the bedroom is a real torso. It almost sounds like she suspects her son did something to Maddie. But then later on in June, you're right. She sends that message on the jail tablet saying basically that suggesting her son is taking the fall for other people.
Charlotte's awesome too. Charlotte's a very good person. She's been here forever. I think she was one of my first people in the chat. From all the way overseas.
So what do you think about that? I mean, is she just trying to help her son out? Or as a prosecutor, how do you view that message and the difference there?
I keep thinking about how you would never, ever rat out a friend. Really made me feel mad, and I felt like you valued them over us. Oh, I've read this before. Okay.
You know, there are like different stages of grief. Well, here are different stages of being shocked that your son is involved in such a horrific crime. First, you want to be helpful, and then you start to rally around your son to think that, get defensive, and you think that someone else should take the fall for this. There's someone else involved. She didn't quite say in the jail calls that you're innocent. She said that there's someone else who's more responsible, who could be of help, and she's letting you hang out to dry. So these are different stages, different days, but the evidence is so.
Yeah, Chris from the Mod Crew is awesome. Chris I've been following him forever too. I remember when he used to do the dance. Remember the dance? Chris is great. Chris is awesome.
Overwhelming against Stearns, and now in Florida,
Chris did a tremendous job in the Dylan Rounds case. I mean, he went out there with the drone and all of that stuff. Like I said, he's usually, some of these creators are freaking fantastic. They're just like Gazella. Gazella's on during the day, and there's no way I can, she's all the way over there in the Netherlands. So I'd love to watch. I should probably record or watch the replays, but sometimes I do. And Aiden Clune, yep, absolutely.
who are eligible for the death penalty, not just for murdering someone, but for sexual assault on a child, which is what is being charged here. So he could get it either way. There's nothing good that's going to happen to him. And even if the mother is eventually prosecuted in this case, he's not going to get a break to turn on her, because this guy is already facing the maximum penalty. They're not going to let their foot off the gas.
If this guy doesn't get the DP, there's no such thing as a DP, in my opinion. This guy, everybody knows this guy did it. I mean, it's not a secret here.
And not seek the death penalty against him, because what he allegedly did is so horrific, it doesn't matter who else he tries to implicate.
The allegations are horrific. He is innocent until proven guilty. He enjoys the presumption of innocence, but everything that we've read,
8, 9, just unbelievable.
Through the police records and, the court documents, it's absolutely horrifying, the life that Maddie Soto, a 13-year-old girl, just turned 13, was living. There's almost a suggestion by Stearns' mother that other men had abused Maddie, even though Stearns, it appears, had been dating Jen Soto off and on for many years. So what do you think about that? Because the police have said the investigation's ongoing. Do you think that possibly maybe there's some truth to that? Because the police, when the prosecutor and the police have said the investigation's not over, it's ongoing, maybe that's what they're referring to potentially. I don't know.
Yeah, I did take the police comments to mean that they are searching.
I mean, I kid around about Gray too. I'm not a big fan of his either, but he's been right a lot of times. I definitely agree with him on the Kylie Rodney case. That case was just, they had people fighting. There's people lawsuits on people suing each other in that case. But I definitely agreed with him on that case for sure. But as far as I'm concerned, he's just like everybody else. I watch him sometimes too. But if you're going to watch Gray, don't comment in this chat, because it's probably not going to go well.
For more evidence to see if there's others involved, or whether the mother was so neglectful that she should be charged with child neglect. She's the one, after all, who allowed her daughter to sleep in the same bed in another room with Stearns. And if it's proven, or at least if it's shown with some evidence, that there are other men involved, then I think it's much more likely that the mother gets charged. But you're right. Everyone's innocent until proven guilty, and the mother hasn't even been charged yet. But this investigation is ongoing. I suspect we'll see some more evidence. Don't know which way it's going to go, against the mother or against Stearns. But
this poor kid is the epitome of how not to treat children, right? I mean, she was groomed very early. She probably thought all of this stuff was fairly normal, and like I said, it's kind of like that. What is that syndrome they call it? This Stockholm syndrome or whatever. You start believing that your captor's a good person, right? It's like just But when you get into school, into the higher grades, and you go over to other people's homes, and you understand that this isn't normal. It's my opinion here, but he probably had a pact with her that said, if you tell somebody, it's not going to go well for you. So just sucks. Just a sucky case, sucky individual here. And he deserves, the the worst possible punishment that could ever be inflicted upon another human being. I mean, it's just awful, terrible.
We're going to see some more evidence come out that we don't know of yet.
Interesting.
I did notice that. I didn't want to say anything. I'm glad that you said that because, yeah, I know it sucks. Like I said, I lost my dad 2 years ago now, and it's just, you never get over it. It's not something you're going to get over. I just, we feel for you here for sure.
They were leaving no stone unturned. It seemed like many law enforcement agencies were working together. They even searched a storage unit.
Yeah, I'll never ask for money on this channel. That's for sure.
Down there in Northport. This is almost 3 hours south of Kissimmee, Orlando area. And so they were looking everywhere for Maddie's body because they couldn't find it.
Yeah, well, they also knew that Stearns had visited that storage unit while the investigation was still going on. He had visited for a short period.
I keep saying, this guy here is such an idiot. You can't go anywhere in that area, especially that area of Florida, and not be seen on camera. It's just, it's almost impossible to do. So, he might have thought that he was being pretty smart, but they got tons of evidence on him. All right, so it's going to do this here. We'll go to the tropics for a couple of minutes, and then I'll get out of here. So this is this guy was back in court, and this was done 4 days ago. This is Rex Heuermann. I've been following this case for a long time too, probably a good 6 years.
Last month, and the mountain of evidence in this case is overwhelming.
All right, let me play. Hold on, here we go.
Yogo Beach serial killer Rex Heuermann was back in court in Suffolk County this morning. Prosecutors turned over evidence to Heuermann's defense team, including DNA results and data from Heuermann's electronic devices. The prosecutors also revealed that they've received around 7,000 tips from the public following Heuermann's arrest. Eyewitness News reporter Darla Miles is in the newsroom with more. Darla?
Sandra, this was just a routine court appearance, but in this particular case, there's absolutely nothing routine about it.
The saying goes that, hey, Steffa, how are you? Support what Steffa's in here. Hey, Steffa, what's going on? Steffa's awesome. Nothing ever prepares you in life for watching your parents get old. It's one of those things that it's in the back of your mind all the time, but you don't really concentrate too much on it. And then when something like that happens, it's a brutal punch to the gut. It's just annoying. It sucks.
Heuermann was back in court for the first time since he was arraigned on 2 additional murders last month, and the mountain of evidence in this case is overwhelming.
Is a case where, obviously captured the public's imagination. And so the public is.
What the hell is going on now?
Continually providing tips which are being evaluated.
Accused serial killer Rex Heuermann appearing in a Suffolk County courtroom Tuesday morning, facing murder charges in the deaths of 6 women. An avalanche of evidence still pouring in.
Workup was done on that tip, marry the two together, provide to the defense. So it's voluminous. And
so they've gotten, since his arrest, they've gotten 7,000 tips. That's good.
An arduous work.
Voluminous to the tune of 7,000 tips after Heuermann's arrest last July of the Gilgo Four, and again indicted last month in the murders of 2 more women.
That we were going to expand the investigation off of the original Gilgo 4, off of the beach. I think the last indictment has illustrated that.
Information discovered during an extensive search of his home at the beginning of June, when investigators found 350 electronic devices, including 15 cameras, 27 computers.
350 electronic devices. Let that sink in for a minute. 350. 10, 20 would be a lot, right? 15 cameras, 27 computers. This guy had enough electronics in his house to power New York. I mean, that's a lot of stuff.
17 tablets, 80 hard drives, 46 cell phones, 42 USB devices, 647 floppy CD disks, and Huerman's attorney also getting a first look at DNA evidence. The case growing exponentially in scope. Exactly when it will go to trial is unknown.
It looks like everything's getting pushed back, and rightfully so, because there's just so much discovery that's forthcoming.
Now, Huerman will return to court in October for his next appearance. He has pled not guilty to all of these charges.
That guy is such a good lawyer, too. He's got a mountain of evidence to climb, man. It's just...
And again, this investigation, David, is far from over.
My opinion, the lawyer's just trying to, get somewhere where it means, a plea deal or something like that for his client, because I know everybody's innocent until proven guilty, but they got 7,000 tips. I mean, all right. So it's always good to have Stefan here. Stefan's great. All right. So what am I going to do now? I'm going to go. Let's play this one here. Hold on a second. I'm not going to play all of this, but I'll play a little bit. Hold on a second. I'll try to share this. A second. Yeah, the lawyer in that case is probably just trying to get a plea deal going or something in that. Okay, what's going on with my computer here now? It's working. All right, here we go. All right, let me share this here. All right, better. Start this from the beginning here.
Since Rex Huerman, a New York City architect, was arrested and charged with murder, accused of killing multiple women, even dismembering one and leaving.
So I wanted to go over, I don't think I'm going to have enough time. I wanted to go over the fact that I was watching Lighting the Way Home today, and she informed us that they moved Adam Montgomery to, I think, Virginia. And we were trying to figure out why they moved him. But they did move him from New Hampshire to Virginia for some reason. It's probably either overcrowding, security, or I forget the other one.
Their remains on Gilgo Beach. We are breaking down the latest developments and the demands from Huerman's defense attorney as a Suffolk County.
Adam Montgomery's another piece of dog shit.
Case inches closer to trial. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Okay, let's talk about the latest in the suspected Gilgo Beach serial case. But before we even get to that, we got to take a step back. We got to talk about where we are right now. So, the Gilgo Beach investigation, it spanned decades, and it started with the disappearance of a woman named Shannon Gilbert back in 2010. And as police were searching for her, they ended up finding remains of a lot more people, and it pointed to a possible serial killer. But as we know, this case went cold. It was unsolved. That is until July of last year, when Suffolk County authorities announced that not only did they have a prime suspect in these killings, they had him in custody. because the DA's office had launched a Gilgo Beach homicide investigation task force to focus on the killings or the deaths of these 10 victims that were found during the search for Shannon Gilbert. And by the way, while Shannon Gilbert's body was located, Huerman has not been charged in connection with her death. This is,
I mean, that poor victim, right? Shannon Gilbert. They did all of this stuff here, and a great lawyer who's been advocating for her for forever, it seems like, John Ray, and they still haven't figured out what's going on with her. But in my opinion, if it wasn't for some of those situations there, they probably wouldn't have looked so hard into this.
is despite pleas and apparent evidence presented by her family attorney, and we're going to get to that in just a minute. But Huerman did plead not guilty last summer to first and second degree murder charges in the killings of Melissa Barthelemy, Amberlynn Costello, and Megan Waterman. Then, in January of this year, he's charged with the 2007 killing of Maureen Brainerd Barnes. So Barthelemy, Costello, Waterman, and Brainerd Barnes have become known as the Gilgo Four. 4 women whose bodies were found within a mile of each other.
They were buried in a similar fashion, in a similar location, in a similar way. All the women were petite.
This guy right here is a hero. I mean, all of these people, but this guy here, I forget his name now. Drawn a blank here, this guy. But he retired from the force. But all of these guys, all 3 of these guys here, this is what you call good police work right here.
They were they all did the same thing for a living. They all advertised the same way, and there were similarities with regard to the crime scenes. All the women were bound at the head.
Oh, that's what I wanted to say, Dean. I got your comment way earlier about the long haul truckers. I'm going to try to get back into that next week. Because that's I want to go over one of the guys that was caught. I forget his name now. Heward, was it Heward?
At the midsection, or at the chest, and later at the legs. The other thing I think that was that's been talked about in the media was they were bound by burlap.
And in June of 2024, Huerman was charged again.
We're here today to announce additional charges in the case against the defendant Rex Huerman. The district attorney's office filed a superseding indictment charging the defendant with 2 additional murders. Those.
My opinion, this guy's going to go down as one of the most prolific serial killers of all time in New York State, for sure.
Charges pertain to the 1993 murder of Sandra Castilla and the 2003 murder of Jessica Taylor.
So Jessica Taylor's remains, they were different from the Gilgo Four because she was dismembered. A person walking their dog had spotted the remains, called 911, and police found Taylor's torso with her legs bent underneath her, but her head and arms were gone. Her skull, hands, and a forearm were found 8 years later along Ocean Parkway. This is just east of Gilgo Beach. In the state's response to Huerman's superseding bail application from June, a map was included, and it shows that Taylor's dismembered limbs were found on the...
I mean, this guy is such a big guy, right? You get it entangled with this guy, you're probably not going to be getting away from him.
Same side of the road and approximately the same distance back from the parkway as the remains of the Gilgo Four. As for Sandra Castilla, her body was found 10 years before Taylor's in the Suffolk County area of North Sea. Huerman was linked to Castilla by hair found on her body.
We said right from the very beginning that we were going to expand the investigation off the original Gilgo Four, off of the beach. I think the last indictment has illustrated that. So that work continues, but as well as the arduous work of preparing this case for trial.
Huerman has entered not guilty pleas to all the charges. He has maintained his innocence throughout this case.
I mean, is that so rare? Like, they always say that. They always say, well, he's maintained his innocence, right? But nobody's going to stand up and say, I did it, right? So, and I get it. I know everybody's innocent until proven guilty and stuff like that. But my opinion, this guy's goose is cooked regardless. They're going to fry him.
He wants his day in court.
Well, they're not going to fry him
a year ago, and
there's no frying in New York, but he'll never see the light of day again.
He said he wants his day in court. He still wants his day in court. He wants his trial. So he's dealing with it as best as he can. He understands that he can't change the circumstances of his environment for now, but he wants his day in court.
And now his lawyer says there is no way that these cases should be all tried together. No, attorney Michael Brown told the judge during a court hearing this week that, quote, at a minimum, Sandra Castilla and Jessica Taylor's cases, they should be heard at a different time.
But they have nothing to do with the other four. There's no relevance to the other four. The MO is different. The way that the murders allegedly were carried out were different. Where those bodies were I'm going to say, I hate using these words, but deposited or left is completely different.
Hey, everybody, I want to take a quick sidebar from Sidebar to tell you.
All right, let's do a little more of this, then I'll get out of here. I may come on later and do another tropical update. I don't want to waste people's time here.
It's criminal propensity rather than their guilt on each individual charge? Will a jury improperly and unfairly use evidence from one killing to convict Huerman of another killing or all the killings? Can all of this evidence be grouped together? Will this confuse the jury as to the issues? Hey, maybe Huerman wants to testify as to some of these killings, but not others. And this is going to be an evaluation for the judge to determine, is it fair for all of these cases to be tried together? You know, it would be different, for example, if a defendant opened fire and killed two.
You should have plenty of dates there, buddy, with your OnlyFans thing.
Two people on a street, same incident, same occurrence, same facts, that would be tried together. Now, Brown says his team plans to file a motion to sever the cases at some point. There's also talk about a change of venue motion as well. So the question becomes, can Rex Huerman, the alleged Gilgo Beach serial killer, get a fair trial in Suffolk County?
No.
You know, on one hand, this is a national case. There's a lot of people who know about it. Where are you going to find a jury that's fair and impartial, maybe doesn't know about it? Although you could say, sure, everybody might know about this case, but this county, you could say, was particularly traumatized, particularly affected, particularly prejudiced by what has been happening there. The defense may also challenge some of the evidence against their client, including DNA results.
I know they're going to challenge one of the cases because one of the cases was already, I thought, solved, right? They pinned it on somebody else. Yeah, Heather, we're definitely on your side here. I hope you're okay. Hold on a second. Let us know what's going on.
The Castillo murder is, I've read the grand jury minutes, and the only evidence that I've seen is allegedly one hair that ties my client allegedly to that murder. But listen, the basis of all of these cases, the bulk of their evidence, the strongest piece of evidence that they claim.
No dying. Forbidden in my chat. No dying.
They have is a hair on each body. And they said that those hairs were unsuitable for nuclear DNA testing. Those were their words in the grand jury. I'm not making this up. I promise you that's what they said in the grand jury. So we came out of that court a year ago and we started looking at the evidence and we reiterated that it is unsuitable for nuclear DNA. And the mitochondrial DNA, and then we started talking about the ratios in the population. There are thousands and thousands of people just on Long Island that potentially could be donors for those hairs. And I stood in front of all of you, maybe it was August of last year, maybe it was September, and I said this. And within months of me saying this, now all of a sudden, magically, we have a company in California that says, no, we're able to do nuclear DNA testing. And here are the results. And Rex Uerman is one out of a zillion, trillion, quad million, I don't know what numbers they use, and he's the guy that DNA belongs to.
And we've told you before about this, the mitochondrial DNA testing, nuclear DNA testing that has linked Uerman to the victims in this case with hair found that allegedly belongs to him or his family members. Now, nuclear DNA testing, as far as our understanding is maybe a little bit more accurate, able to pinpoint a person's identity a little bit more precisely, because it's our understanding that mitochondrial.
Yeah, just think about it. They found a strand of his hair, or somebody in that house's hair, on every single one of the victims. I could see if there was like one victim it was on and none of the other ones, but I'm not buying that.
DNA can only rule out certain portions of the population. So is that really strong enough to prove that Uerman did this? Now, one of the reasons, I will tell you, why this case is moving so slowly is because there is so much information to go through.
We have 6 murders, which are alleged to have been committed by this defendant. We need to prove that. We look forward to doing that. So all of the underlying casework for each of those murders. One murder occurred in 1993, 2007, 2009, and 2 in 2010. So all those individuals.
There she goes again, Charlotte. We freaking love Charlotte. Charlotte's awesome. That's classic. All right, let's do a little tropic stuff here, and then I'll get out of here. All right, let's go to where the storm's at now. I'm not going to be able to get an infrared. But anyways, if anybody lives down here, let's check out some radar here. If you live, I would say, from Tampa north to the Big Bend here. Hold on a second. Let me share this. Okay, here we go. Now that everybody can see it here. So if you live, I'd say north of Tampa, around the Big Bend here, you're probably going to be in the bullseye of this thing, although it seems to keep shifting west here a little bit. But let's check out some radar down here. So they already have warnings up down here. So Tropical Storm Debbie will track northward off the Florida coast, west coast through tonight, strengthening to a hurricane prior to landfall sometime Monday. So, here's this is radar. Where's this from? This is from this is the Southeast Regional Radar here. So here's your center out here, or down in here. And some of these bands are going to start really pummeling in here to the eastern side of Florida. But as this drifts off kind of to the north here on an arc here, these bands will really start putting some water into these low-lying areas down here by Fort Myers. But let's go. Hold on. Okay, so this should. Whoops. So there's nothing really happening right now down here. It's just all of these bands are starting. The feeder bands are really starting to, blow up here, because the center is starting to get more organized. Let's go. Let's do this. Okay, so this is basically the entire Atlantic Ocean here. This is the Gulf of Mexico here. There's a pretty strong, solid, low-pressure system up here in Canada. There's a trough that's going to be dropping here, which is already starting to drop across the Midwest and South. There's our system there. You have high pressure over here to the west of this, the west of the Caribbean. Gulf of Mexico here. And then you have your Bermuda high that's always out here in the Atlantic. So, these high pressure systems here are like stop signs. This can't go through this high pressure here, and it can't go through high pressure here. So it's got to go, least resistant path, which is going to be meandering up into here. Where the hell am I? Right there. So this is a pretty good system going here. This is really starting to get formulated. You can almost see the buzz saw here. But let's... and you're seeing some thunderstorm activity here starting to get going here. So this is an intensifying system here. It basically just came off the coast of Cuba here and is center of circulation right about in there somewhere. But you can see these outer bands here starting to form, the buzzsaw. These waters here are just perfect for development here. These water temperatures are about 85, 86. There's no steering current. No wind shear. There's no wind. There might be a little bit of wind shear here at the top. But you're starting to see some pretty good thunderheads starting to form around these bands here. And that's telling me that this system, because everything's off to the east here right now, but it's really starting to turn. And once it wraps here around the center, I wouldn't be surprised to see an eye forming tomorrow or today, later today. But let's... This is the water vapor here. So you see the dry air here. That's a good indicator that there's high pressure here. Here's that trough. See, this trough is coming. I got the rocker on. Hold on a second here. This trough here. So the thinking is once this trough starts to drop, it's going to take this east. And this is going to be the indicator of what happens, because if this continues to drop here, it's going to push it more towards the east. If it doesn't drop as much, it's going to not push it towards the east and might get caught. This is the problem. If it gets caught here and just lingers here for a while on the other side here, but this is intensifying right now. This is not good for the bend here. So let's get out of here. Hope everybody's doing all right. I know it's probably pretty boring for other people, but hey, buddy, what's going on? It's the Real Dragon is in here. Where am I? All right, so what I want to do is go back. Give me a second here. I'm going to go back. So this is as of today. So you have so as of 3rd to the 4th, Sunday. So this is today. So this is what it's looking like today. Here's your high pressure off to the west. There's our low pressure right there. And there's a Bermuda high out here, of course. Low pressure. This is the trough here. But let's go ahead a day. So this is today. And there's Tropical Storm Debbie. So later today, by the end of the day, it's going to be basically due west of Tampa, the center. And here's your high pressure here. Out here in the Atlantic is your Bermuda high. And here's that trough. See, this trough is not going to drop as much as they thought it was going to. So, you know, if this trough drops more down into Georgia here, this would get caught in that and get kicked out here. But it doesn't seem like that's happening. So let's go to Monday. And there's our system by Monday night. This system is on shore, and see this trough is gone, and now all right, so let's take a look. Sorry, my computer's really slow right now. Look at the Pacific. There's Hurricane Charlotte, Tropical Storm Daniel. So the Pacific is active too right now. But the Pacific doesn't really. So right now we got, it just went up. This is the advisory 7. This was done at 2 o'clock this morning. So about an hour and a half ago, Sunday, August 4th. So we got maximum sustained wind at 40. So definitely a tropical storm. Center pressure is now down to 1003. That'll go up. If you're plotting at home, it's located 24.9 north, 83.9 west. So it's right skirting this parallel here. And it's, you know, average speed 14 miles an hour, 12 knots. All right, so here's your rainfall totals. And this is my area of concern here is up in, this is going to get inundated too, Tallahassee, Big Bend here. But the biggest problem is going to be once this comes overland here and then just sits here off the coast of, say, Georgia here. And if this doesn't move, you're talking, this is the scale here. So 20 inches of rain between, I'd say, this is Hilton Head right here. So Hilton Head, Savannah, even inland, a good 20 miles inland, you could be seeing a ton of water. It's not good. Let's see here. The surge is not, I don't think the surge is going to be all that great. They're talking up to 10 feet, 6 to 10 feet here. But this will be a Cat 1, probably maybe a small Cat 2 by the time it makes landfall here. So the surge is going to be average for a tropical system. Here's the cone. So here we are, 8 p.m. today. It's going to be basically due west of Tampa. And then by 8 a.m. Monday morning, this is calling for it to be a hurricane by 8 a.m. Monday morning. But I'm thinking that this is probably going to be more of a hurricane earlier. This, like I said, if it sits over water here too long, it could be intensifying as it comes onto land here. So 8 a.m. Monday morning, here we are. It'll fizzle a little bit once it hits land. 8 p.m. Monday here, storm, but this is the problem here. So you have Tuesday, 8 a.m., Wednesday, 8 p.m., Thursday, 8 p.m. So that's 3 days, 3 good days. That's not good. This could be a problem here for a lot of people if this sits here for that long. And this, obviously, this is the expanded cone, but yeah, I think Evil is in necessarily Evil's in Florida for sure. I think he's on the other side though. And then wind speed. The wind isn't going to be a big problem, but anytime you get a system like this here on the dirty side or the eastern side of this, you're going to get pop-up tornadoes all up and down. I would say as far south as Miami, all the way up into Georgia, and parts of South Carolina. These systems are notorious for kicking up, especially in Florida, spawning tornadoes. They're brief, but they can be pretty damaging, even in brief periods of time. So this is your wind forecast here. You got 90 plus in this deep purple here. So it's going to get breezy for sure. So let's check out a track, and actually I'll do this first. Hold on a second. Okay. So this is 11 p.m. This is the 7 advisory. So there was another one coming out soon. Heavy rainfall will likely result in considerable flash and urban flooding across portions of Florida, the coastal areas of the southeast through Thursday. So right in there. Hurricane conditions are expected on Monday, along with portions of the Florida Big Bend region. The warnings are in effect here. So there's a danger of life-threatening storm surge inundating along portions of the Gulf Coast in Florida. And so if you live anywhere in here, you're going to get the storm surge. But let's find a so here's your ocean temperatures here. There's Florida right there. Gulf of Mexico here. Texas is right there. Africa, New England, all the way down to the coast. So in here, this is perfect. This water temperature here, you're probably talking 85, 86, 87 degree water temperatures here, which is boiling hot. Even off the coast of Africa here, you're only at, high 70s. So this is perfect. And even over here, in the Gulf Stream here. So if this system gets back over into the Atlantic, this could, technically intensify out here, especially if it's sitting here for a long period of time and then hit again. So, oops, I don't want that. This is the anomaly. This is in Celsius here. So you're up 2 here. You're up 2, 2 over where it normally is, because it's been so damn hot in this part of the country over the last few weeks. That warms the temperatures up in the water. So let's get one more. One more look at this thing here. I want to do. See if I can get this. This is the short wave here. Yeah, this is definitely intensifying. There's no doubt in my mind. The center is still kind of off to the west of this, though, but this is going to wrap around. You can already start seeing it happening here. You're seeing these clouds come together here. They're going to get pummeled here as this moves north. Naples all the way up. So anyways, enough of my stuff. I want to thank everybody for coming in. I'm going to get the hell out of here. Tell Frosty I said hi, buddy. Frosty's great. I've been following Frosty for a long time. He's another guy. Got a great channel. Don't always agree. Don't always disagree. I think, it's human to agree and not disagree at times because that's how things get done. I'm never going to just, not like somebody because they got a different opinion than me. It's just the way it is. Nobody knows. If anybody tells you they know, they don't. But I want everybody to stay safe. Have a great weekend. Thank you, Heather, so much for coming in. Heather's awesome. Always thinking about you too, Heather. Dean Johnson is great. Thank you, Dean. The Real Dragon, Fire and Ice, they got a great channel over there. Jocelyn's great. Thank you, Jocelyn, for coming in. Gail Hurd, thank you so much. Happy birthday if I don't talk to you before Wednesday. Jocelyn, thank you. Who else was in here? Charlotte's great. Charlotte is an amazing person. Hope everything's going okay over there in England. I'll be getting back into that they just had a panel of so-called students look into the Princess in the Tower case, and they come out with some different opinions. So we'll be getting into that. Who else was in here? Miranda Lee was in here. Miranda Lee's an awesome person. Always thinking about you too, Miranda. I hope you have a good week. I'll see you in chats anyways. Who else was in here? If I miss anybody, I'm sorry. Mr. Steve from True Crime was in here. True Crime Web. He's got probably the best channel on the planet. Him and Mr. Steve and Ruckus and all those guys. Great people. Shout out to Southern Gal too. I know she's going through quite a bit of stuff too. We're always thinking about her too here. She has probably the best channel too. Great work. She does great work on the missing. Her and Arctic True Fox. Great people. I try to share as much as I possibly can that they, on the missing cases. Who else was in here? Steffa was in here. Steph is great. Steph is awesome. Thank you, Steffa, for coming in. Sorry about the computer problems. This computer's just really freaking slow. Who else was in here? I try not to forget anybody. Fark Q was in here. Thank you for coming in. Really appreciate all the support. I think Honeybee was in here too, wasn't she? No, I don't know. Anyways, like I said, if I forgot anybody, I'm sorry. I always forget somebody. But anyways, I'm gonna get out of here, play my outro, get out of here. I've been here way too long. You guys have a good week. Stay safe. I'll play my outro and then get out of here. Again, if I missed anybody, I'm sorry. Let me play my outro. Everybody have a great week. Thank you. See you guys later.